one question I had, well, as long
Yeah,
as we're here and small enough
sure,
group,
of course.
on the disclosure forms,
Yep.
um, it's kind of you'd have to. I'm trying to figure out how to do that. Use that. I usually, I either do it in person with the seller and or buyer, et cetera. But right now, it's almost like you have to answer the questions on while you're logged in.
Right. Okay, so I'll show you how to do that. So seller disclosure, let me go into edit mode here. Your seller, oh, okay, so this is what I was talking about, is that it's an outdated version of the template. So
Oh, yeah.
it's going to tell me I can merge to, and I want a new version of this document. Okay, I don't want to go to a brand new document. I want to update this document because this already has all my data and everything else. So this is what I want to do. So it merges it and we're good to go. All right, so you'll notice on this particular form that it's actually split kind of into two. There's this line here on this input form. So what
Right.
happens is you see the whole thing. Your seller, when you share this with a seller, they only see from this line down. So bottom line is when you have filled out, the first thing you do on any form, if you haven't created it from something else, if it's just blank, you're going to type in your email address and click on get cab member info, and it's going to populate that.
Right.
And then you would populate the rest of the stuff
Yep.
if it's blank. If it's, the best way to do a seller rep or a seller disclosure is from your document record of your seller rep agreement, because if you are here in the document record and you scroll down and you say seller disclosure and you create using this button, it automatically merges all that stuff in
Right.
and gives you this, and you don't have to retype all of it, right? So when you
Yeah,
come
that part
to
I'm good with. Yep.
okay, so once you're done with that part, you've looked at it, and it's like, okay, is the buyer signing this disclosure? Um, so sometimes, if you're in the middle of a transaction, the answer might be yes. I do seller disclosures when I do listing agreements. So initially, I'm going to say no, the buyer's not going to be signing this one. I just want to see what all the issues are so I can, if any, so I can try and address them with the seller while we're on the market before we have a buyer.
Right.
So you go up here. I don't want to download this form. I don't, I mean, we can do a quick preview. That's fine. And you'll see that I have some answers that have already been answered in here because this is test data that I've played with before. Um, Usually what's going to happen though is there's just basically not any data, and you want to send this to the seller. So the way to do that is over here with this button, this little people button, and that is share. Okay. And so you're going to share and you want to turn on external sharing. If external sharing is off, which a lot of times it is, you make, because the seller is not part of Legito. The seller doesn't have a Legito account. So it's going to be an external share. And you want to make sure that what you are sharing is the document. Okay. It's permanent. You can set this to one use, but then if your seller doesn't fill it out completely or, stops halfway through, you're going to have a problem. So I always make this permanent, and you have to give the seller the ability to edit the document or he can't make those selections. Okay. If they only have view only capability, then they have no ability to fill out the form. We want them to fill out the form. That's the whole purpose. So they have to have edit document capability. Then what you can do is copy the link. Now, in videos and other demonstrations, I was telling people just to send the link to the seller, and you can do that. Okay, you can do it this way. Click on send link and enter the seller's email address. But then you don't have the email in your email. right, in your sent folder. So if a
Right.
seller says, oh, well, what time did you send it? You have no idea because you don't have a record of it.
Right.
So I was talking to the guys at Legito and they said the better option really is just to copy the link. So if you copy the link, then you can paste it into an email that just sends it to, that sends it to the seller, and then you're done. So,
Okay.
and so, you paste that link. What your seller sees, like I said, your seller is going to click on the link, and what the seller is going to see is going to look like this: seller disclosure for whatever the business name is, and are you aware of any circumstances? Okay, so initially it's going to say please choose. Everything will say please choose. And what you'll see here, if it doesn't give you the ability to go back to please choose after it only gives you a yes or no. So I can't reset this, but
Mm.
what you can see is that when I say no, the description field, anytime I say yes, it's going to expand and ask, okay, please provide the details for each one. And so the reason we did it this way is because there is an addendum that goes to the seller disclosure form that says if you answered yes to any of the above, you know, write a description or describe, and people were not filling out that addendum. So here it makes it easier because as soon as they say yes, we say, okay, give us the description. And then, like I'm just putting junk here. Okay, so if I save this and we'll do a print preview and I'll show you what it looks like. So when we go back, so we've got our yes answers here on 1 and 2 is A1 and 2. We go back to the addendum, now it's got the explanation of the yes answers that it just automatically puts in. And it automatically puts in that it's A1 and A2. Okay, so it
Gotcha.
just ties those together for you.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. I can that makes sense. So that's nice. You can send it directly, or even if you just didn't want to for some reason, you can kind of print it out and just tell them to put X's down the blank columns
Uh,
on a
yeah, I mean, it's better if you send it directly, because if you try and print it out blank, it can be problematic. Um, really, none of these forms are designed to be printed blank.
now if they send the link, if they get the link, Tanya, if I send them the link and they complete it, then what happens upon completion? Do they get a form that they have to download and send back to me?
No, so that's the great thing.
Okay.
So
It just comes back completed within Legito.
yeah, so they're editing the actual document here, and like
Right.
I said,
Okay.
within the document, when you go to a document record, you have a couple things. First of all, you're going to see a notification up here. I have a notification. I'm not sure why. Oh, okay. So I must have shared something with Steven Hansen, and it shows me that he downloaded the document. Okay,
Okay.
perfect. Um, so what'll happen is you'll have a notification up here that says that they edited um, the document, and also in your timeline, you know, like I said, your timeline for that document shows everything that's occurred. And so, I activated sharing the document with guests. I created a new document version. So it shows all of that. And if I
Gotcha.
send it, once when they go into the document to edit it, it's going to show that they edited the document. So you're going to see it.
Hey
One
Tanya,
thing
while
that
you're there, I
huh?
noticed scroll back down. I the other just yesterday or the other day, and I noticed all the names on the left there. What's happening there?
So what happens, cab is all one account in Megiddo.
Right?
So basically, if you're going to share a document and it's not an external, then let's say I wanted to share with you, I would just type in
Okay.
and I
Oh,
could share it with you.
oh, interesting. Okay.
So everybody is listed. Some people signed in, or when they first got set up, they put their name in, other people didn't. I think, our names got put in because board members and forms committee members were the first people that we added in way back in June to try and help with
Right.
testing things.
Okay.
Um,
Perfect. I get it.
so yeah,
Makes
but
sense.
that's why it's cab is all one account. Now that being said, you know nobody has access to anybody else's documents and
Right, right,
sharing
right.
it.
Right. Unless you
Right.
share it.
Right.
And
So
I'm sure you've
and
talked.
the owner here,
Uh-huh.
one thing you own all of your documents. The same thing here. If I wanted to transfer this over to you, I could put in your name and pull you up, and I could transfer this document ownership to you. But then once I transferred it to you, it would not show up in my list of documents again unless you then shared it with me because you would now become the owner.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
use ownership with sharing with people. You don't want to give ownership of your documents to somebody else.
Right. Makes sense. And how over from a management of documents, is there, I mean, like right now I just see if I go to like dashboard, I see a long linear list of documents I've worked on and not in any, it's just the order I think I've worked on them, right? Is there,
Dashboard is only going to give you the most recent 10.
okay,
So manage documents is where you're going to spend most of your time.
okay. And does that enable you to but it doesn't, there's not a way necessarily, kind of like you would manage files, right? By a listing, and it's basically managed documents is going to give you all of your documents in kind of a linear fashion.
Well,
Is
yes
that
and no, because I
okay?
mean, the filtering is really powerful. So if I only want to see, stuff for Jack's
Yeah,
Bar and Grill,
exactly.
I can filter that. That's going to be a business name, right? So I can filter it that way, and then it should pull up only things that are relevant to Jack's Bar and Grill.
Okay. Oh,
So
under managed documents. Okay, good.
yeah, although I'm not sure why it's taking so long. It usually doesn't.
Yeah, but it's there. That ability's there. Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, if you're looking for a seller disclosure,
Yep.
and then you're looking for the name of
Of the document.
document, so then you would check the name.
Gotcha.
If you're looking for, if you're looking for a person, maybe I only want Sam Roberts, anything related to his business. And so in that case, I'm gonna look for a person,
Right.
and it should give me all of these things that I've done that have to do with Sam Sporting Goods.
Gotcha. Okay.
On the filtering, just be cognizant of what you're actually looking for.
Right.
Name is actually the document name, not the
Right.
person's name. Person is a person's name, whether it's a seller or buyer. Document is going to be more of, I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Document, I think we'll search the document record. So you've got so much stuff because we have associated templates and we have related documents and everything else in the document record that, document is not always the best
Yep. Yep.
to search for. So if I do sporting goods, let's see what that does. Yeah. So, even though all I put in was sporting because I have the business name, it's pulling up Sam Sporting Goods. And if I had other businesses that had sporting in the name, it would pull them up as well. All right. Now, so yeah, the filtering is pretty powerful. You can also, every document you create starts off in a draft stage. And so if you are working in an office where the broker needs to approve it, you can then share it with the managing broker. And when the broker has reviewed it, they flip it over to approved. And then, what you do as an agent is you just go in and you say, okay, I want to see all of my newly approved so I can then send these out to seller or buyer for signature or whatever, and go from there. So you can use these stages depending on how your office operates. It can be very handy. If you're a solo practitioner or you are the broker and your stuff doesn't have to be approved, then you're not going to really use this. Although I do use I'll move things to e-signature when I know that even if I'm using a different signature platform, that'll tell me that I'm waiting for the signed copy. So
Right.
I know that my form is complete. I've downloaded it, I've sent it out for signature, and I know that just by looking at e-signature. Then the once I have the signed copy back, I move it over to complete. So I know that the form's been completed. So I know I don't want to edit it anymore because I already have a signed copy of it. Right.
Right.
So that's what the stages are for. And they're very helpful in that respect. You also have other filters on the side. Like, if I want to see any of my forms that are going to expire, um, this month, I can do that. And I don't think I have any set up for that, but
Gotcha.
you can use different things that way as well.
Remind me the template option, and is that where you would like, it seems to me like you'd want to just create a template on every rep agreement has your broker info, right? Is that the intent of that tab or what?
Well, templates is so you can always get to any template from here. So if you go to dashboard, you can get to any template from dashboard too, but it's not
Yep.
as
Okay.
convenient because,
It's just a simpler version of it, it
yeah, you
looks
might
like
have to
then.
scroll over. It might not be,
Gotcha.
you know,
Okay.
So, so templates is just going to show you and give you quick access. If you know you want a COVID, then I would go to templates, miscellaneous, and okay, here's my COVID.
Right.
Read that.
Okay.
Now, if let's say you're creating a COVID template, and let's go back to manage documents for a minute, and let's say we have a purchase agreement. So we have a purchase agreement where we want to add a COVID amendment to it or addendum.
Okay.
So the fastest, easiest way to do that is, open up our purchase agreement document record and look for the document ID. So the document record ID down here, 348228, if I can copy this to the clipboard.
Okay.
So now I go back to my templates and I want a COVID addendum to the purchase agreement. I can say create. And instead of having to type this stuff in, I just say import from Legito.
Right.
I want to choose a document record. So now I paste in the number, the ID that I copied the clipboard and select it, purchase agreement, and then click on Smart Import. And it should pull all the data across.
Right.
So I don't have to type it all in. Okay.
Gotcha. Yep.
And then at that point, if there's anything else that needs to be included on here, you can do that, but otherwise I'm just going to save it and then, let's do a print preview and see what it looks like. Okay, so you've got the addendum. So, it's filled in all your stuff and it's set it up for signatures. So pretty simple.
Yep.
But it's super easy to do with that document record ID.
Yep. And it gives you a pretty good pull down even to just pull from as well. I kind of walked through that a couple weeks ago, and yeah, it was a pretty nice feature.
Yeah, so I spend most of my time in managed documents because that's just, the dashboard, if you're working on something that you worked on, a few hours ago, then it's going to be sitting in your dashboard. So great. But
Yep.
Otherwise, I mean, for me, it's just easier to go straight to manage documents and do what I want to do, or go to templates. And,
Gotcha.
I need an arbitrary template, but really the only time I go to templates is for a representation, a seller representation agreement, or yeah, seller rep. And because that's where everything starts. So you create it there. And then after that, I'm always going to manage documents, and I'm going to my seller rep agreement and creating everything else from my associated templates.
Right. Right. Yep. Got it.
Okay. Another thing, that if you're in an office where, or if you're in an office where you're co-brokering or co-listing and you have a partner, some people work with business partners. If you're working, then you would obviously share whatever documents you have that you own. You would share those with your partner, or your managing broker, and then you can actually add messages and type information in.
Oh,
It plugs it in here, right on the
okay.
document record. If there's any questions or additional information needed, you have the ability to communicate on there. You can also make notes for yourself.
Right.
So if you're, doing a seller rep agreement, there's some missing information, and you can type a quick message to yourself. I don't use the messages very much,
Right.
but it's there. If I don't, um, I don't have anybody that I work with on a regular basis,
Mm-hmm.
that I partner with on a regular basis, but seems to me if I did, then that would be kind of a useful tool for
So
sharing.
where would you share, like if you were gonna, could you just refresh me, like if you were gonna, you had a rep agreement or any document and you were gonna share it with somebody you're working with in the office, how would you, what would
So
just be the quick
yeah,
step?
there's two ways you can do it. You can do it from the document record itself.
Okay.
So from the document record, if you scroll down, you've got a share option right here, the share button. Okay.
Okay.
So I can say, okay, share. This one's not going to be external. This one's going to be internal. So I can add the user, and type in,
Right.
Alan, find you. I
Okay.
can do it that way. Now,
Gotcha.
that you've got to be careful here, because it defaults to view document record only. That's not going to be helpful if you want somebody
Right.
to be able to actually look at things. So make sure you change that. If you want them to be able to edit the document, you can give them that capability. So they
If you
can,
give them managed documents, does that make them the owner or just allows them to, I'm not,
yeah, I think that if you have managed documents, that's going to allow them to delete also, which
yeah.
most of the time if somebody
Yeah.
can
So you
edit
just
your
edit
document, they can't
documents.
delete it. So
Gotcha.
yeah, you would want to give them edit, but not necessarily manage.
Gotcha. They
Somebody who
probably
can
can't
manage
send it
documents.
or do other things with it.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
So that the other way of sharing a document is, so you can do it here from the document record, or if you are in the process of editing the document, you've looked at it, you're done with it, you've saved it, you can go over here and share it this way.
Gotcha. Okay.
So two ways to do it depending on whether you're in the document or not.
Perfect. Awesome.